What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh, and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC moveset guide video. Today, we are going to be talking about one of the best legendary Pokemon to be added to Scarlet and Violet in the Regulation D format, that being Heatran. Heatran is just, I don't even know how to say it. Heatran, let me know in the comments below what you guys say. But this Pokemon is absolutely nuts right now. It is so good. It counters a lot of the very popular stuff in the metagame, especially from the previous format. There's just so much good to say about Heatran, and it's been consistently good in the past, so it's nice to see it make its return. I don't remember it being as prevalent in the Dynamax formats of Sword and Shield, but it is very, very solid currently in this Terastallization format. So we're going to talk about it here today. If this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subbed for more videos like this in the future. Let's get into it. Heatran. I cannot express enough how good this Pokemon is because it has Flash Fire, right? So off the bat, your brain immediately goes, oh, this is a Tera Grass Pokemon. This makes it just so much better because the biggest thing that you're going to have problems with is ground type attackers, thinking of things like Ursaluna, opposing Heatrans, things like that. There are so many Pokemon right now that are running around using ground type attacks because it's 4 times strong against Heatran. So it's just super, super good for this Pokemon to be like, nah, I don't care. Tera Grass, you take not very effective damage from it. And you also can't be hit by fire type attacks. It makes this just an incredibly powerful Pokemon. So for that reason alone, Heatran is already super good. It reminds me of like Armor Rouge and the way that a lot of people played it earlier on. So for that reason, it's just phenomenal. But its stats are also just crazy good. It's a super bulky Pokemon with 91 HP and 106 defense and special defense. Absolutely crazy. If I look at the usage stats over here on Pikalytics, 29% of teams are running Heatran because it's just so good. Consider the fact that also Fluttermane was the most prevalent Pokemon. It is still the most prevalent Pokemon going back over to Pikalytics at 49% usage rate. Very, very good Pokemon still. Heatran, what does a Fluttermane even do to this Pokemon, right? You hit it with a Moonblast, it's not very effective. It's typically running Assault Vest. If you hit it with a Shadow Ball, it's not doing that much damage, right? And then you have Flash Cannon to return a hit. It's just very, very good into Fluttermane. I think that's why Fluttermane has seen a decline in usage. If I can go back over to Pikalytics here and just talk about that. Let's look at the Regulation C usage rates for Fluttermane. 71%. 71% of teams were running Fluttermane. Now we go back to Regulation D. We're down. We're down to 49%. That is a massive drop. And it's because of things not only Heatran, but like Urshifu Rapid Strike. But Heatran is a huge catalyst for that. It's absolutely crazy. So fantastic Pokemon, especially when you look at other things that are super popular. Looking at things like Rillaboom, Iron Hands doesn't like taking an Earth Power from this thing. Regieleki obviously doesn't like taking Earth Power from this thing, and it can take a hit very well from that. Chien-Pao doesn't like it that much. A lot of Chien-Pao are actually running Sacred Sword now because of Heatran being so popular, but you're seeing just a lot of Pokemon have to adapt around this particular Pokemon, which is super good. I think it's fantastic, but the set that you're typically seeing people run on this is something like Assault Vest with Flash Fire and Grass Terra typing, so that way you can eat those special type attacks. Then you have Heat Wave, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Terra Blast. You can do a lot of like health investment here, give yourself a little bit of defense, and then put the rest into special attack. Do something along these lines. Very, very solid. Or if you wanted to be a little bulkier, just reverse it and do something like that. And just very solid Pokemon all around for eating hits and dishing out that damage. And it's got a fairly decent speed stat with 77, putting you in a really fun position that you can either roll under Trick Room or you can roll under Tailwind. So very versatile in terms of its speed stat, in terms of how you want to actually invest into that. And I think that's really solid for this as well. Other things that you're going to see on Heatran because of its crazy bulk, Rocky Helmet's really solid on this. A lot of Pokemon are getting a lot of Rocky Helmet use because it's very good right now with Urshifu Rapid Strike running around. Very solid to be able to dish out that much damage in return. Also, other things that are going to, not enjoy it particularly much. Any of those Focus Sash users, not going to like it a whole lot. Also, looking at things like Dragonite getting hit by an extreme speed, then it's going to deal damage back and break multi-scale if it runs it. Same deal with Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao's going to hit you and break its sash. So there's a lot of things going for Rocky Helmet on Heatran. Other things, lefties are very good on it, but I've also seen people running like Life Orb or like choice items on this Pokemon. There's a lot of variety with Heatran that you can do. If I go back over to Pikalytics, let's see what the most popular items are. Lefties, Life Orb, Assault Vest, Shuka Berry, Citrus Berry. Like there's so many options for this particular Pokemon that are just super, super solid. So I really enjoy it for that reason. And then you can swap out things for like Protect, if you're not running the Assault Vest variant. And it does have access to a lot of other really fun moves. For example, it gets access to Substitute, which is really solid. Getting access to Substitute, getting behind a sub is super cool on this particular Pokemon. Other things that you can run, it does get access to Taunt, which is really nice. I've seen even some cheeky sets where you're running like Iron Defense and then using Body Press on this thing. Just a lot of stuff that you could do to make this Pokemon weird and fun, especially if you're just using it on ladder. It's just all around a really fun Pokemon. But like I mentioned, it's really good into a lot of Pokemon in the format right now. So let's talk about that. First and foremost, let's talk about partners though. Partners for this Pokemon, obviously a lot of Urshifu Rapid Strike are liking this Pokemon because you can make a really solid Fire Water Grass core with Heatran, Urshifu, and either like Amoonguss or Rillaboom. Really solid for this particular setup here. Really good in that regard. You're also seeing things like Fluttermane run around with this particular Pokemon because Fluttermane obviously doesn't want to get hit by a Steel type attack. You are Steel and Fire, making you 4-time resisted to Steel type attacks on Heatran. So running this next to a Fluttermane is also really solid. Again, Urshifu Rapid Strike, because you have your Fire Water Grass core, you can eat those grass type hits. There's just a lot of fun stuff going on with this Pokemon. Now, Pokemon that don't like looking at this, obviously Fluttermane doesn't like it at all. You're going to just not do anything with a Fluttermane against a Heatran. It just doesn't work out in your favor, which is super solid for this. Honestly, Urshifu Rapid Strike can be problematic. That's dark. We don't care about that one. Urshifu Rapid Strike. Urshifu Rapid Strike can cause problems. However, like I mentioned, most of these, if not all of these, are running Tera Grass, which puts you in a really good position to just Tera in front of this thing and not worry about it, especially if you're running Rocky Helmet. Very, very solid in that particular scenario. You do have to blow Tera, but again, it's just something that can deal with Urshifu very effectively. If it does close combat, then it's weaker and you're able to hit it back very hard. So for that reason, very good. Again, if you're running Tera Blast as well, very solid into Urshifu, so you can just do lots and lots of damage. Other popular Pokemon, Amoonguss obviously doesn't like looking at this particular Pokemon. Obviously, you don't want to be under Trick Room. I guess it doesn't matter because you're running Grass. So Amoonguss just hates this Pokemon. Amoonguss doesn't like it. Rillaboom doesn't like it. A lot of Rillaboom are running Assault Vest, so you do have to be wary of that. Like, you're not going to do as much damage to a Rillaboom, but you do still hit it like a truck. So for that reason, Rillaboom really hates this particular Pokemon. And just having access to things like Heat Wave is really nice. You can run this on like Sun teams with Tornadus, and like I've seen Charizard running around. And this is going to do a lot of big damage for that reason. Other Pokemon that aren't going to like it, obviously Enamorus is still popping up here and there. Enamorus doesn't really enjoy it. Looking at Iron Hands, you do have to Tera in front of the Iron Hands because you don't want to take that fighting type super effective damage. But Terrain in front of the Iron Hands is going to allow you to just eat that Drain Punch and dish out big damage with Earth Power, which is super solid. But then also, it doesn't like Terrain in front of this. So if you have another Pokemon that deals with Iron Hands very effectively, you could just Heat Wave into it when it Tera Grasses. Or if it does run Tera Fire and you're playing open team sheets, you can hit it with an Earth Power. This Pokemon just really doesn't like Heatran a whole lot because ultimately after you Tera, it does nothing to you. But there are Pokemon that are going to deal with this fairly effectively. If we look back at Urshifu again, Urshifu can hit this very hard. If you've already blown your Tera and it comes down to like Heatran, Urshifu, you're kind of in a rough spot. But Urshifu is something that deals with this very, very well. Other Pokemon are things like Hisui and Goodra you have to be aware of because this is popping up here and there. It is something that's popping up less and less because people are just figuring out how to play around it. You can taunt it to stop the shelters from going off, but this thing with like Body Press can be a problem. So you definitely have to be aware of Hisui and Goodra's running around. I think Lando's pretty good into it, either form. Lando's pretty good into it because if you Tera, then it can hit you with, a Tera Blast or hit you with a Sludge Bomb, depending on the form of Lando that is being run. So it can hit you with Sludge Bomb, or it can hit you with like Tera Flying Tera Blast, or hit you with a U-turn. This Pokemon deals with it fairly effectively, I'd argue. For that reason, I think Lando's really good into it. Another Pokemon that can kind of deal with it, Tornadus, especially if you've already blown your Tera and your Tera Grass at this point. Liquid Storm does not feel very great. Even if you are running Assault Vest, you don't want to see that. So you can have some issues in that regard. Chen Pao is one that I feel plays fairly decently into it. You have to play very carefully around Chen Pao with Heatran because while you do counter it to an extent, you do have to be very cautious of the fact that a lot of these are running like Sacred Sword and Ice Spinner now. So So even if you Tera away from your super effective, you are still going to get hit super effective next turn unless you get Trick Room up. It puts you in a very awkward position against this thing. So you need to be very careful. Or Tailwind. What speed stat do you need to hit to outspeed a Chien-Pao is the question. We're going to level 50 here. Let's see here. Really, you just need to hit like this. Probably this would be fine. Actually, if you just hit 100 and yeah, probably just hit this. That puts you decently ahead of Chien-Pao. Doing something like that can put you in a good position, but also just Trick Room is going to put you in a much better position against Chien-Pao as well. So again, a Pokemon that does counter you, but you can still outplay very carefully. Opposing Heatran can actually cause problems for Heatran, oddly enough, especially if you've already wasted your Tera. Getting hit by an Earth Power does not feel very good. That's why a lot of the Heatran are running Earth Power to not only counter Pokemon that are good into it, but also being able to cover for opposing Heatrans. That puts you in a really awkward position, especially, like I said, if you've already blown your Tera. Really interesting scenario there for your particular Pokemon. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to be cautious of, but there's so much that this Pokemon plays well into that I feel like there's a perfect reason to bring it to so many teams. Like Goldango hates this thing. Let's just keep looking at other Pokemon that are absolutely going to despise this thing. I think Dondozo, actually, because you are running Tera Grass a lot, you can play it into Dondozo fairly effectively. You may not be able to dish out damage as well as you want to unless you're running like Tera Blast on it, but still, Dondozo, like after you Tera, it doesn't do a whole lot to you. So for that reason, it puts you in a pretty good spot. Still seeing a lot of Hatterines, you know, running around. That kind of stuff's happening. And again, you do also, if you wanted to be cheeky, you do get access to Dark Pulse on this thing. So there is some counterplay into things like Indeedee. There's just a lot that this Pokemon can do. And for that reason, it is just a really fun and solid addition to so many different teams, especially because when thinking about the format right now, there's not a lot of fire types running around that are like really prevalent outside of Heatran. Like if we go back over to Pikalytics, let's look and scroll. Chi-Yu still popping up here and there, but only at 11% usage. Torkoal still popping up at 6%, and then Armarouge has seen some play again. Hisuian Arcanine is popping up, but like there's just not a lot, especially when you consider that they're down in like under 5% usage rate. Like there's just not a lot of fire types that are popping up outside of this. So really solid option if you're looking for that fire, water, grass core to run on a team. But for those reasons, Heatran's super good, and that is how you can think about playing it. It's just really fun, really solid addition to so many different teams. So I highly recommend trying it out if you have not already. But that is going to be it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, leave a like and sub for more videos like this in the future. Also, be sure to check out the Discord. People over there hanging out, playing Pokemon all the time. And if you want to see anything else from me, check out any of the videos that you're seeing here on screen. But until next time, peace.